painful.
In my opinion, my humble opinion,
That's what the experience.
I put a lot of pressure on these two people right here, and I'm looking most forward to what they have to say, because we've talked about, we've had experts, people, and you've talked amongst yourself, but since we weren't able to move around, you didn't really get a chance to hear all the different voices. So they're going to come back and kind of tell us what they've heard, and maybe some things that they wish they had heard and didn't. Or anything along those lines. This is their time to kind of summarize and help us see what is missing or should kind of be added in. And I'll talk about the final one. And just real quick, this is the post-test. This is your post-test. No, it's a post-survey, and all we want to do is find out what you thought, of course. But the big thing is, I think on the back side, is it a two-page? Yeah. On the back side, the key thing we really want to know is, where would you like to go now? I mean, this is a nice, we had almost 26 people, almost 30 people, so, and I was very pleased that we have people from all different walks, different universities, participating, but what do you want to see happening next? So, anyway, they're going to kind of give you their visions, and I do want to hear from you as well. And Oksana will have those gold sheets and the envelopes as well on your table. If you will, take it away.
And I'm going to let Dan speak first, because this large group over here, a lot of what he is going to say, we were kind of talking about liking to see that happen in our classroom. So,
okay. Well, I'm Dan Davidchik. I'm with Central Community College, and I'm a project director for a National Science Foundation project under the Advanced Technological Education Program. And it's called Project Shine, and I've got a brochure going around that talks a little bit about it. And essentially, it's kind of speaks into some of the things that have been touched on, I think, with all of our speakers. SHINE stands for Shaping High-Quality Integrated Nebraska Education. And really, the crux of that project and is that we want to have business and educators, STEM educators, working together to be able to come up with applications of the theory and ways for students to be able to relate to it in a way that they can see what is actually required once they get out of schooling in communities where they live or where they go to school. And with the 3 sessions, I had the opportunity to sit in on really parts of 2 of them. But the outside one, which was how can you define the teaching experience and on different ways to teaching accreditation or teaching credentialing. Outside of teaching in the classroom, how can you get people who are also maybe informal educators more formally educated? Or maybe they're transferring in from other states where there's not a reciprocal agreement. How do we make it more easy to make that sort of thing happen? I think the specifics of that I will leave to Elizabeth, because I didn't catch the whole thing on it. But, I know we don't have a whole lot of time.
No, real quick, I'll just say real quick, it's more of classroom teachers who are certified that have decided to go into another division of education that is not within the formal ed program. So informal science educators, myself. There's several of us out there. So how do you get recertified if you're not getting that experience? Well, you are getting experience. We're teaching teachers, we're teaching kids, but we're not in that classroom. How do you get that certificate? I know we can take classes, but then there's a point in time when you've taken all the coursework you can take. So that's it. So we said maybe we need to broaden or redefine the rules or definition of what experience is. Maybe we need to also better inform people about how the processes they can go through if they're transferring from another state for recertification, or if they're in a situation like we are.
Yep. And the other group that Julie and I both had an opportunity to listen to was the group whose emphasis was on secondary certification. And quite honestly, I think they were in the middle of some thoughts when I came into it, because I really didn't catch the conclusion, miss the introduction, but can somebody summarize the general discussion that occurred?
We kind of went around with talking about changes that may be occurring soon in certification from the State Department of Education and how we felt about that, what we thought the needs were for students at higher ed, what they need in science, what they need in pedagogy, and how we can get them in and out of college in a timely fashion and be prepared. And the fact that many times in their science courses in college, there's not modeling being done as far as process, you might say process skills, inquiry in their classrooms. So what else want to add to that? I'm done.
Even better.
Two things that seem to be common between those two groups, to me when I was observing, they both talked about having the certification and being able to reflect things that are needed outside of just the actual core discipline knowledge. And I think the project that I'm working with, one of the things I have is 80% of the teachers that are competitively selected to participate with Project Shine are coming from a math and a science instruction background, mostly secondary. There are some that are post-secondary. And of those 80%, the ones that have not had an experience outside of an academic environment, they have a really big wow moment when they get into a business, a manufacturer, or an ethanol facility, a public power facility in Nebraska, or a food processor or something. When they get into these kinds of businesses, they come back with a whole lot of thoughts and ideas dancing in their heads that they never had before. And I think we're kind of teasing with that discussion earlier, and I don't know what went on here. I'm going to turn it over to Julie, and you guys summarize the other section.
I let Dan go first because he highlights what is going on in science right now that I have never seen before. Jim talked about a little bit before about how the general public talks about STEM. There has never been this focus on science ever in 29 years of teaching. And I also see some things happening that I've never seen. I see University of Nebraska Medical Center saying kids are not coming into the medical profession, into the sciences. You're a classroom teacher, tell me, I want to come into your room. What do you need from us? It's never happened before. I do volunteer work with nature-based organizations like the Crane Trust and the Nature Conservancy, and they're doing, you're a classroom teacher. People are not aware of their environment, gaming parks. Tell us, let us come in. What can we do for you? What do you want us to do? That focus has never been there before. And we talked a little bit in that group, just takes, I don't know, someone, a team of people to really start that conversation going and not let it get muddled down and lost in everything else that's going on in education. This group is really interesting to listen to because I think Nebraska, as a rural state, has some real interesting challenges. They talked a lot about the use of technology, smartphones, photo gates, the veneer probes, and then the conversation kind of turned to the rural, the Class D schools. And I'm from a metro area school, so I was really interested in hearing the conversation about how, please go ahead and say if I missed something.
Okay.
What do you do if you have one teacher, two teachers in the sciences, and they're not able to offer what your kids need? Do you want to talk a little bit about distance learning?
Yeah,
and how you
sure.
see that going?
I guess we just talked a lot about how students are in the 21st century wanting and seeking out choices for their own education. And if a school doesn't have the capacity to offer that choice for whatever reason, they are finding ways to offer that to students via technology. And so one example I gave was at Kearney High, which is a Class A school, 400 kids in a graduating class. They contract with a D1 school down the road to offer a section of an agricultural science class because it's cheaper to do that and trade a class with this little D1 school that already employs an ag teacher than it is to employ their own ag teacher at Kearney. And so they trade and offer an AP calculus course for this D1 school that could never have staffed that class or had enough students to justify offering an AP Calc. And so we just talked a lot about how students are actively seeking out choices for themselves, and if schools aren't prepared to offer those choices to the students, then they will find someone who will offer it to them. And whether that be someone here in the state of Nebraska or someone else in the country, and the schools are left to figure out, okay, they have a different schedule than us, they grade differently than us, they have a different bell schedule, they have different calendar, how do you mesh all those things together? But if the school's willing to address those issues and make it work for their students, then everyone benefits in the long run. And so I think it's the schools that are willing to think outside the box in offering those things to their students that are going to reap the biggest rewards down the road.
And I think too, listening to the room, look at the people sitting in the room. We're K college, we're K-16 or K-20. I never remember that happening before. I never remember a college professor asking me as a mentor teacher, what do my students need? So Elizabeth challenged the group before. I think another challenge is, what's our next step? How do we take it from today, from this meeting, and make a difference in our classroom? How do we keep that conversation going and not lose what started in the room?
Fill out the survey.
I think that I said, this is kind of a personal thing, and I'll watch my 30 seconds. I think what Nebraska needs in public school education is a lab school. A lab school that's willing to step outside of the box right now and be innovative in their curriculum and prove that some of the things that we were talking about can also improve test scores, because that's what people are looking at. They're afraid to try new things. They've locked down on that curriculum because of those test scores, and they want to see that improvement. I think what the university, someone needs to step up and put together a lab school, start out small, where they can put some of those practices that we've talked about. That's all I have.
Could you define school in, different kind of way? It's not a building, it's
That's
us
why,
and our kids?
It's the community.
Yep.
It's the university, it's Project Shine, it's the Omaha, it's the zoo, it's everything. It's not Patriot Elementary or Papillion La Vista anymore. It's a community.
Well, and I'm going to just add one thing, and this kind of goes with what Elizabeth was talking about, is that there are researchers out there that need teachers, and because I'm asked that all the time. Who can I get? Where's the list of teachers? How can I get into their classroom? And we're hearing on the other end, or you're hearing on the other end, there's all these teachers, where are the researchers? So we need to have some kind of a list that's accessible, what your wishes are, what the topics, what type of curricula, who you would welcome into your classroom. And if that's available, and at all levels, it can be, pre-K all the way up through. It really can, because there's a whole lot of people that we need to connect. So even from Nats this year, if that list could be accessible, that would be awesome.
Someone needs to be put together somewhere, because I hear that conversation all the time.
Absolutely.
Give us a list, give us a group, someone to start that process.
If nothing else, I guess just phone me if you have a need, and there'll be a researcher that I probably can give you a name of. That's, to be honest, it's that I'm serious, because they need to they want teachers, they want to be in the classroom, but they don't know how to get to you.
What will often happen is one of our colleagues NSF will say, we want to give you the money, and we've got this $100,000 ready. It'll support mostly your research, but you need to have an extension component, an education component, and it better be a good one, and you better assess it.
An inventive, creative.
Yeah. And my colleagues don't know what that is.
They don't.
So there's a team.
Yep.
Potentially. Sure.
Well, I want to say thank you very much for each and every one of you. I probably said this 20 times. You don't have to videotape this. But if you videotape it, then you'll know what's good and then throw out all the bad stuff. Like when I say, when I'm videotaped, I usually say crap all the time. So there's my one crap. Oh wait, I said it again. But thank you so much for taking time to come in. Please fill out the surveys. Of course, I'm not forcing you to, but I mean, you already know what this is, and you've got those pictures, you're starting to say it, and on these papers, then we can actually start looking at how we move forward. You've got ideas, and they were spoken out here, and thankfully we've got those recorded. And, you know, I don't want it to end here. I don't know where, and that's kind of what, by filling out these surveys, we kind of see what we want to do next and how we move forward. And heck, if you put on there that, oh wait, I didn't say no names, so I can't get that. But if you want to email me ever, my email was it on that blue sheet? Okay, so email me kadams12. I'm actually number 1 and number 2, it's not 12, but you know, it's easier to say 12 to everybody. kadams12@unl.edu, and if you would like to participate in something in the future, you know, email me. I'm talking to Bob. I met him only because I just searched the web, and I try to find people to help me out. And for many of the people that are helping me today, it was a search the web and who do you know? And that's, I'm so glad that you guys have come, because I want to know each and every one of you, so that and then you know me too. Thank you once again, and I'll see you, I guess, next year.